As a small business owner, have you ever felt overwhelmed by the pressure of choosing the right hire or leading a team? Or have you ever found yourself tolerating a bad hire because you fear trying and failing again as you repeat the hiring process? If so, you're not alone, and you are in the right place. Welcome to the Growing Your Team podcast. The Growing Your Team podcast teaches business owners like you to expand your unique business by teaching you to master the hiring and team management process. Hiring and managing a team does not have to be a challenge. You just have to learn to do it right. And the Growing Your Team podcast teaches you how to become a confident leader who hires right every single time. Now, let's jump into the show where each episode you will learn tips on how to identify what type of help you need on your team, how to source amazing candidates, how to conduct interviews that lead you to your ideal team member, how to onboard successfully, and how to lead every person in your business so you have a team of rock stars who you are happy to pay every single paycheck. So let's jump in and teach you how to hire like a pro. Hello, Jamie Van Kuyk here, and welcome back to the Growing Your Team podcast. Okay, so if you're someone that's newer to hiring employees for your business, or if you're someone who has hired a few times, but you're still trying to figure out all the details, making sure you have your ducks in a row, one of the questions that you might have is, what is a job post and what is a job description? Are they the same thing? Are they different? Do you need both if they are different? What do people mean when they use these titles for documents? And that is a great question. So let's dive into what a job description is and what a job post is. So for starters, these are two different documents. A job post is what you're going to use to advertise your opening. So it's what goes out on job boards, it's what you might post on your website, and use it to describe your post when you're making social media posts to let people know that, hey, we're hiring. This is what the job is. Here's what the requirements are. If this matches what you have skill-wise, if this matches what you want to do, apply. A job description is an internal document. It's a document that is more detailed, that really goes into the requirements of the job. So a lot of times people will ask, why can't I use my job description as my job post? If they both give an overview of the job, if they both are outlining what this person is going to do, why do I need two separate documents? And I guess the simplest way to look at this is if, let's say for your products, or let's say for your service, if you're service-based, you have a detailed proposal that outlines everything a client's going to get when they sign up for that service. It talks about the timelines, it talks about the deliverables, it gives an overview for each one of the deliverables. Now, are you going to use that for marketing your service? Probably not, because it's probably a lot more detail than people need when they are just learning about your service. When you go out with too much information, it's too much information for people to process to see if this really is a good fit for them. So if your job description is really detailed, your job post is taking that detailed information and boiling it down to what is most essential for people to know in order to understand if this is right for them. So let me give you an example of what I mean. So a job description a lot of times will outline different categories or buckets of work that this person is doing and get very detailed of specific tasks and responsibilities within those buckets. So let's say, for example, we are hiring an administrative assistant that is going to be helping us with our bookkeeping. They're going to be doing basic bookkeeping responsibilities. So they're going to be helping us stay on top of our accounts receivable and our accounts payable. They might also be helping to process payroll and doing other things to do the basic bookkeeping responsibilities. So they're not a full-fledged bookkeeper, but doing some of those basic responsibilities and taking that work off of your plate. So there might be a line that says something about accounts receivable. There might be another line that outlines their responsibilities for accounts payable. There might be another line that outlines the responsibilities for payroll and how it has to be processed every 2 weeks or whatever your cadence is for payroll. So each responsibility might have a sentence attached to it. When it comes to your job post, it might simply be all condensed into one bullet point that says, assists with basic bookkeeping responsibilities, including AR, AP, and payroll. That's it. On the job post, we don't need to go into more detail. This person just needs to know that they are responsible for assisting with basic payroll responsibilities. They can always ask more detail during an interview or between interviews through other communication methods to understand more details about what that means. But when it comes to advertising the job, that's all they really need to know. On a job post, we don't want to overwhelm people with details because they're not going to read it all. But on a job description, sometimes we want all those details because we want someone to really understand what's expected of them in these areas. The question then is, do I really need both documents? And this is where I think, depending on who you're talking to, you'll get different opinions. There's a lot of people in the HR space that will tell you, yes, absolutely, you need that job description, you need that detailed document to have all your ducks in a row so people are signing off on their responsibilities and they know very clearly what's expected of them. So that way, if they're not meeting expectations, it's that you have seen this document. There's a lot of companies, their HR team will make people sign the job description document so that way they understand what is expected of them day to day, that they agreed to this. But then there's a lot of companies that don't do this. And sometimes the companies that don't do this, it's because it's really complicated to put everything into that job description document. They don't see it as needed. It's not necessarily in most things, I think, legal grounds to say, well, you're not doing this. Still, if you're communicating other ways that someone is responsible for certain things and they're not doing it and you're having those performance conversations, that's enough of ensuring people understand what they're responsible for. The other reason why sometimes in small businesses I don't push having these internal job description documents is the fact that jobs change. In a small business, when you are hiring for a new position, because you're learning to let go for the first time, that job description is not going to stay consistent from when you hire to probably even 6 months later to a year later. Sometimes those job descriptions will start off of, this position will help build these processes, do these things, where it's kind of that starting and creating language. Well, what happens to that job description after they've built those processes and everything is in motion? Then do we have to go back and recreate that job description and have them re-sign off on it because now their position's in a different place? We also might start off to say, I'm only going to delegate XYZ to this person. Okay, well, now that I see that they're really good at X, why wasn't I thinking about delegating tasks A, B, and C to them as well? It fits in with that. It matches that general job overview, and they have the time for it. So we give that team member more because we are willing to let go of more. So sometimes early on when you're hiring for new positions, things are going to change about that position as your business changes. It could also be that you offered specific services or specific products when that person was hired, but 6 months later you expand. And how does that role change now with those expanded services? So I a lot of times say they're not necessarily required in your small business. So do you want to spend the time creating a document that could change quickly? Some people that answer is yes, other people the answer is no. So just remember that a job description and a job post are two different documents. If you have both, one is going to be very detailed, and the other one is going to be that kind of advertising overview of what that position is. You don't necessarily need both. Obviously, if you're hiring, you really need that job post because you need to be able to advertise the position to people, but you don't necessarily need that job description. If you do create job descriptions for your positions, make sure you're going back and reviewing them every once in a while to see if they're still accurate. Because there's no point of going through all the effort and having job descriptions on file if you're not going to update them as positions change. So you don't necessarily need both, but if you have both, make sure you're using them correctly. Make sure they're accurate for the role. But I will say if you don't have time and don't care about creating both, just make sure you have a good job post when you go to advertise your position, because that job post is going to be what gets people to apply to your opening. And if your job post doesn't accurately describe the position and doesn't describe who's going to be successful in the position, your chances of getting the right person to apply are very minor. So make sure you have a good quality job post so you can get the right person on your team. You can then just have a lot of conversations around what these responsibilities are, the details, so you don't necessarily need to go into the whole hassle of creating that additional job description. But if you like having all that detail written down for people to review and agree upon, go ahead and do it. Just please, please, please do not use your job description to advertise your job. It's going to have way too much detail and it's just going to overload candidates, which means people probably aren't going to read it all and therefore not apply. So make sure you're just using the documents in the right places. And if you need any help with this, Growing Your Team is happy to help. We write job posts for all of our clients, and we are happy to help you if you need this assistance as you are going to hire your next team member. Are you ready to hire a new team member for your business and you want to ensure you hire the person who can succeed in the role, make you happy, and positively impact your bottom line? Then let's talk and see how growing your team can help you master the art of hiring. Through bespoke hiring frameworks and comprehensive guidance, you will learn how to attract candidates who have the passion you desire and the skills needed to succeed. At Growing Your Team, women entrepreneurs and leaders work with us to help them expand their unique businesses by teaching them how to hire like a pro. Let's connect and see how we can help you. Send me an email at jamie@growingyourteam.com. That's Jamie, Jamie, @growingyourteam.com, or head on over to growingyourteam.com/jumpstart, with jumpstart being all one word, and let's talk about how you can become a confident leader who hires right every single time.